Yes, good evening, everyone here in Europe and Africa, and good afternoon for any viewers in the US. Welcome to the fifth episode of Freedom Uganda. I'm here with my co host, David Steele, also very well known of the moderator of the Freedom Uganda program on Saturdays, and with Francis Cabisante. And now there are some things I want to mention, like excuse me, for example, that this book has become available, the book Rigged, where we talked about in some number of other episodes. But today we don't really feel about talking about rigging because we want to talk about Lumbuye, because that is what is on our minds. And I think to start with, Francis, it would be really great if you could read your column that you wrote for the Noob Diaspora website. So I will add it to the screen as well, so people can actually also view it on the screen. Though for those that are using a PC, and the others, they can listen to you. So Francis, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Professor Nico, for having given me this opportunity to be one of the freedom fighters. As you well know that our brother Lumbuye was kidnapped in Turkey. As a writer and a freedom fighter, I decided to write an article about Lumbuye's kidnap. Fellow Ugandans, you are aware of the fact that Fred Lumbuye Kajubi, a Ugandan political activist who lives in Turkey, was kidnapped in Istanbul on the 3rd August 2021 at night by the operative of dictator Museveni. It is alleged that Ambassador Mubiru Stephen, Richard Muhanji, known as MC Riches, Andaman, Mohammed Nsereko, Balije, and Museveni's family, which does not even merit to be the first family, had an upper hand in Lumbuye's kidnap. And up to now, no one knows his whereabouts. Fred Lumbuye's life is in danger, but the Ugandan embassy will not be helpful at all to come to his rescue, since they were also involved in his kidnap. The truth is, Fred Lumbuye is in the hands of unlawful evil killers who control innocent, voiceless, oppressed Ugandans. Imagine what is happening to him now. Actually, Fred Lumbuye has done his best in his capacity to expose the Rwandese mafias to the entire world. I can emphatically say that had it not been our lovely brother Fred and the other freedom fighters to educate Ugandans how Museveni's system works, we would have been still in a living dead state of unknown. Ugandans who live in the diaspora, I wish to remind you that you have a great role to play to end dictator Museveni's regime. I therefore earnestly beg you to be a pillar in fighting for our brother Fred Lumbuye to be set free. I want to assure you that if Fred is free, all of us shall be free. So if we do not fight both tooth and nail to see that Lumbuye is free, that will result in Ugandans not being safe wherever we are. Do not be in your comfort zones and ignore Lumbuye's situation, because what has happened to Lumbuye will happen to any Ugandans who live in diaspora. Lumbuye should not be extradited to Uganda because he never committed any offense, but he is instead a political activist who wants to live in a free democratic Uganda. In line with the above, I wish to emphasize the point that we, the indigenous Ugandans, have to wake up and claim for our country, as Fred Lumbuye does, since we are the first stakeholders in the decision making as well as formulation of our structure to move forward. Museveni wants to kill Lumbuye Fred. By the way, what you should know is that devil did not start killing yesterday. That non-Ugandan is as dangerous as a green snake in green grass. He has killed many Ugandans, especially those who want change in our country. That is even why I arguably say that Museveni and his group do not deserve an ounce of power in Uganda. And we need to do everything possible to make sure that they get out of our country. It is so sad to see that we have a shithole in the chair of our country, and the fear Museveni is putting in Ugandans day and night. Unity is the greatest weapon we can use to overthrow dictator Museveni. Let us not ignore the fact that it is very important, according to our own unique purpose in the struggle to seize Museveni's dictatorial regime. Having Museveni as a president after ruling for 35 years, my brothers and sisters, that period he has stayed in power is not a sign of progress. It is rather a sign of grotesque inequality that paves the way to continue working with these cronies to deny Ugandans our democracy, as it is in the case of kidnapping our brother Lumbuye Fred. My compatriots, it is of utmost urgency to continue fighting wherever we are in any form possible, because it is our mandate as Ugandans to fight for the future of our country. If we do not do so, Museveni will continue pursuing his interests ruthlessly, and for sure, we will hunt all the people opposing him in the diaspora. It is frustrating to see that the NRM party has become nothing but a deranged cult of the Rwandese man Museveni, and his idiots and party supporters don't believe that Museveni has ruined Uganda and that he has never respected the rule of law. Ugandans are facing terrifying and devastating moments because we are being ruled by a non-Ugandan who does not care for our future, for our country as well. When people like Lumbuye Fred and other political activists who have Uganda at heart come out to elaborate on the fact that they are luring us badly, it is considered a crime. The situation in our country is in the form of life and death, with millions of Ugandans facing a food crisis, lack of clean water, medicine, insecurity, jobless, generally living through repeated trauma because of the foreigners from Rwanda who are ruling our country. What really hurts is these Rwandese came from their country, Rwanda, as refugees with absolutely nothing. But the way Uganda looks now shows that they intended to make our nation a family business from which they get money to repatriate the profits to Rwanda to develop their country of origin. These are the very issues our brother Fred Lumbuye has been talking about. It is clear as crystal that death has no timetable, and also that everyone is a potential candidate to death. However, it does not mean that Museveni has the right to kill every Ugandan he does not want to work with, or every Ugandan who refuses to accept his stupid, outdated, useless ideas and policies. It should be known that Fred Lumbuye was contacted on several occasions to be given money so that he could keep silent. But because of love for his country, he refused to rub shoulders with the rotten, expired Museveni's regime. My countrymen, Museveni is so scared to leave power. That is why he is killing, kidnapping, and also buying Ugandans who do not have their country at heart to help him pursue his ideologies, which are based on his games of divide and rule, exploiting Uganda's economy and resources for run this development where he originates from. Museveni is incredibly very narrow-minded creature. He talks about the future based on his perpetual lies. And when he is asked about the present, he always avoids such questions. And instead, he goes into the past to refer to Amina Obote. And yet, he himself was the problem to those governments because all the killings and the atrocities which were committed when both Amin and Obote were ruling were committed by Museveni with the intention of making the then ruling governments so bad that Ugandans could hate them. In doing so, Museveni was making an easy move to becoming a president of Uganda for life. In conclusion, people in Uganda are overwhelmed with confusion, disappointment, and angered by any inhuman actions done onto Ugandans, both inside and outside Uganda. On behalf of political activists, I humbly appeal to the Turkish government, United Nations, United National High Commission for Refugees, the European Union, and generally the international community to demand for the immediate and unconditional release of Fred Lumbuye Kajuri because he is not a criminal, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
That's great.
David, I think he's the host now. Okay. Sorry, guys. I was under the impression that I was not part of the stream. Can you hear me? Yes. Francis, thank you very much for this contribution. That was really good.
Okay.
Now I want to go to a nicer view, but I don't want to go to a view where I'm big. So let me try this one then. That's better. I can see that we're having some 700 viewers. David, thanks for making all the connections possible. It's even 800 now. Now, before going into further discussion, I think it's interesting to give a little bit of background about Turkey, because Turkey is what is Turkey actually known for, right? I mean, it was founded 100 years ago by Ataturk. Ataturk is basically the Bobby Wine of Turkey. He is the popular guy. He made the Turkish Republic what it is now, and also a democracy. So Ataturk, he founded a democracy. And what was very important, because we think, the Turkish, they're Muslims and they're conservative, and it is true that a part of the Turkish are quite conservative Muslims, but Ataturk was actually a liberal, and he made sure that religion would not enter into the government. So for a long time, it was forbidden in the Turkish government to wear scarves, hijab. And so Turkey, 100 years ago, was actually ahead of its time, possibly. And so, although there have been some eras of dictatorship, but it was never a banana republic, like we unfortunately have to say that Uganda is at the moment, a kleptocracy, where everything is determined by money. That is not the case for Turkey. Turkey is, for example, honor is way more important for the Turks. The Turks, before the Turkish Empire, there was the Ottoman Empire, and their capital is Istanbul. Although there's Ankara, which is the official capital, and then there's Istanbul, which is the biggest city, which is on the border of Europe and Turkey. But Istanbul is a city that has the same amount of history as Rome, as Paris. So the Turkish are very proud of that. Their country has played this central role in history. And obviously, if in the old days, if you wanted to go from Europe to the Middle East, you had to pass through Turkey. And so Turkey was, in most of the world wars, Turkey played some part. It has always been quite important. And that's why it's so surprising that Turkey is now playing a role in this affair on a worldwide scale. Lumbuye is a small blogger. And if you at this moment Google for his name, you only find references from Uganda. So if you Google for Turkish sites, there are no references from him. And also the Western media has written very little about Lumbuye. And whereas when Khashoggi was murdered, that was a hit worldwide. Now going back to Turkey, let's look a little bit at the balance of power between Turkey and Uganda. So Turkey has 85 million inhabitants, which means it's double the size of Uganda. But every Turk earns 10 times more money than every Ugandan, unfortunately, which means that their total gross domestic product is 20 times bigger. So Turkey is a way more powerful country than Uganda. So why would Turkey let themselves be used by the Ugandan government? Especially because Turkey also has European ambitions. And so Turkey sees itself as part of Europe. Officially, it is trying to become a member of the European Union, but the European Union is withholding that because they think that the democratic level and human rights levels in Turkey are not high enough. And especially political prisoners, they are there in Turkey. Yeah, there's no free speech like in the Netherlands, where we are, or other parts of Western Europe. And especially under the President Erdogan, more and more people have experienced that you can end up in jail, and many Turks had to flee the country. And in this light, we should also think of the war that Turkey is having with the Kurds. And so the Kurds are a people in the southeastern part of Turkey. They are a people without a state, just like the Palestinians, basically. This changed slightly when there was a war in Iraq, and then a small Kurdish state has emerged. But the Turkish government really does not want any Kurdish state, because they know it would take a part of the Turkish state. Although the majority of the people in this rural southeastern part of Turkey are Kurdish people, and the Turkish army is quite repressive there. So in some kind of way, the Kurds are our allies in this, because we have to face it. We had hoped that the Turkish government was our friend, but they aren't. Otherwise, Lumbuye would not be there in prison. So we should ask our Kurdish friends how they fight the Turkish government, because one thing is clear: this government needs to be fought against, because this is outrageous, what is happening, and especially because of the democratic ambitions of this country. And we should make very clear to the international community that at this moment, they are just providing services to the worst dictators of the world. That should look very, very bad for Turkey. Turkey, the president, his name is Erdogan, and he has been in power for about 20 years. Now, he is not like Museveni, that has rigged every election that is around. Actually, one of the last elections was lost to his party, which is called the AK party, was the mayor of Istanbul for years. But in the last elections, the opposition took that mayorship. Now, so a dictator like Museveni would have never allowed that to happen, but Erdogan couldn't prevent this from happening. And the difference is obviously that Erdogan is in power for less than 20 years, not like Museveni, that is in power for 35 years and has appointed all the judges and all the commissions, and anyone that means anything in Uganda has been appointed by Museveni, and that is not the case in Turkey. So Turkey there is a kind of rule of law. In Turkey, you can't always go to a judge and offer him some money, and then you can settle your businesses. That doesn't mean that corruption isn't playing a big case in this case, because that is the problem with someone like Museveni that has such big pockets, that brings millions to the table. Yeah, then even any Turkish person is tempted to give this person whatever he wants. I was just on the phone with someone who is involved, and because I wanted to know what is he actually accused of. And we read in the press somewhere that there are seven indictments. And by the way, Francis, if there's any place where you feel you need to correct me, go ahead. But so what I heard, that one of his indictments is treason, which is ridiculous, obviously. Because if there's one person that is treasonous, that is Museveni, because there is no single article in the constitution of Uganda that Museveni has not violated. And another one is supposed threats that he would have expressed, and his criticism on the government. I don't know exactly what kind of accusation that is, because also in Turkey there is freedom of speech. So we are really looking forward to searching more precise accusations. It is my belief also that the present rumor that he is going to be sent back to Uganda is likely propaganda. So please, fellow Ugandans, do not worry too much about that. It doesn't go that fast. There is some kind of rule of law in Turkey, and if we don't even know the accusations of Fred Lumbuye, then obviously it cannot be the case that he is being extradited to Uganda. Now that was a very lengthy story. I hope not too lengthy. David or Francis, any comments from your side? And David, you are on mute in case you wanted to say something. Because I see
thanks,
you want to
Nico.
say
Can you hear
something.
me?
Yes, great.
Hi, Nico. Hi. Yes. Hi. Yes. Sorry, Nico. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Francis, for your. Can you hear me?
Yes, I do hear you very
Fantastic.
well.
Thanks, Francis, for your well-written article. Very passionate plea to the people of Uganda and those out in the diaspora, and obviously Nico for your summary. Yeah, your summary of the situation in Turkey. I think there might be a bit of a delay. For me, the most important thing about this is what does all this mean to those of us who are out in the diaspora? I think the biggest win for the dictator would be if we who are in the diaspora get so threatened by the actions of this bloodthirsty, hungry dictator and decide to cower away and not continue to raise our voices. And so whilst I understand that there's a lot of concern about what's happening, I would call a kind of rally the same call that Francis was issuing out to all those Ugandans and friends of Uganda who are in the diaspora, not to be intimidated, because if we decide that because Fred Lumbuye has been arrested, we're going to keep quiet, then it's only going to work against us. So we can't fall into the trap that the dictator is trying to set by intimidating those of us who are out in the diaspora. So we need to keep on raising our voices, whatever you can do. We just need to keep on doing it, because the moment we keep quiet, that's the moment. This is a watershed moment. We haven't had instances where the Ugandan activists have been picked up from countries that are not in Uganda, so countries in the diaspora. And so if we let this slip and we let this go as the dictator would expect it to happen, this is going to become the modus operandi, and we can't let that happen. So we have to make sure we go kicking and screaming before this becomes the way of operation of the government. So yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is probably
it's a sad time, but at the same time, it's an opportunity for us to show that we are not intimidated.
What I wanted to say is that and most of the Ugandan in diaspora, they are in the high-level democracies, as I would call. Something like this could never happen in the US or in the UK or in Germany or in France or in Italy or any of the European Union countries. It can only happen in second-rate countries. Sometimes countries like Turkey, they were called the second world. Countries that are still like undecided whether they will become real top-level democracies or possibly return back again to dictatorship. And I do notice that many Ugandans do feel intimidated by this action, but there is just no way for Museveni to do even something similar to this in Western European countries or in the US. Now, saying this, I realize there are 45 million Ugandans that have to face with this every day. So I think we in the diaspora, we should actually understand our privilege. That, I mean, Lumbuye, at this moment, he is still in a Western country. He's probably not tortured. We know that if you are captured in Uganda, then you will be beaten within the hour. And you will be tortured the same night. And some of us have read the book by Kakwenza, which details exactly what kind of torture takes place in Ugandan prisons. And fortunately, these are not the situation that Lumbuye is in. And I cannot imagine that a country like Turkey can even allow such, because Khashoggi looks bad on Turkey. But now it's different, because in the case of Khashoggi, it happened in the Saudi embassy, and the Turkish did not have an influence on this. But now he is under arrest by Turkish authorities. So now there is a clear responsibility for the Turks. And although at this moment it doesn't make any headlines in the West, but this is something that the Turkish will always be confronted with whenever they claim to be a democracy. And if Lumbuye is extradited to Uganda and dies within half a year, then they were the one extraditing Lumbuye, and it will be on their record for forever. Also, when they're talking to European countries again about human rights, because all the time Turkey is reminded about human rights issues. So why? I mean, obviously, the Turkish, they want to violate the human rights of their own opposition, like the Kurdish. That is their interest, because they want to stay in power. But they don't really have any interest of fighting against the Ugandan opposition, except maybe for that bag of money that's involved. So to summarize my story, please, Ugandans in the diaspora, do not be too afraid about what's happening. My prediction is that he will be released within a couple of days. Francis, I see you like to come.
Yeah, I want to add on to what David has said. I want to urge Ugandans who are in the diaspora not to loosen their natties. Let us fight tooth and nail to make sure that we save Lumbuye. Determination minus resilience equals to success. So don't give up. Let us be determined to do whatever possible to make sure that we help our brother so that he doesn't get any harm. And also, as they say that united we stand, divided we fall. My brothers who are in the diaspora, please make sure that we be united. That's when we shall get rid of the dictator. I know Museveni has a lot of tricks. I want to single out one which people always disregard, that as not important. These Rwandese, when they came to Uganda, they adopted Chiganda names or Ugandan names. So they use those names to disguise themselves that they are true Ugandans. Yet most of the people who are ruling us are from Rwanda. I can give you an example of Nabanja, the vice president. He has that Imbogo, name, but here is not a Muganda. So that's how they have tarnished the image of Baganda, thinking that it's the Baganda who connived with Museveni to do bad things for Uganda. So that's not really true. So that's what I wanted to say, Professor.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go back to our screen. So what I wanted to show, this is what I find if I search for Fred Lumbuye on Turkish websites. And I do that by using this Google trick. So if you put site colon .tr, and tr is the domain extension for Turkey, then you get only Turkish websites. So, and as you can see, there are only 3 results. So it's really really bad at the moment. Now let's look in the Western. So let's look for the .com. And YouTube, yeah, but those are usually coming from Ugandans. So again, you see that no .com site is writing about it. And let's look at German sites. Nothing in particular, or maybe any site in the UK .co.uk. Okay, so Kyoto. Kyoto is in the UK, so I get Kyoto. But this is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for sites like BBC. Why aren't these sites picking up on the story? And one thing that we can do is go to Twitter and on Twitter tell the journalists about what is going on with Lumbuye. And so let me use this screen to go to Twitter. Let me make it a little bit smaller, so I hope it will be better viewable. And let me look here for Lumbuye. I'm wondering, Francis, do you see the screen share updating? Because to me, it still shows it's not updating.
No.
Okay, what I will do, I will remove, and then I will add again. No, that's still. So I think what I will do. Yeah, David, for some kind of reason, I'm searching in this shared screen for Lumbuye on Twitter, but it doesn't show. So it's a bit of an issue. With so let me try that again. Yes, and in the meanwhile, I get these kind of notes, recommendations by Comrade Susan, what I should tell you guys. So, of course, I will, since Susan is my wife, I will do exactly what she says. So she says I should share Twitter handle. So I will do that. Just that. Francis, let me also add it. While I try to fix the screen sharing, David, is there anything you want to share with us?
Yeah, thanks, Nico. Well, I guess to those of you, sorry, I'm just having issues with my internet. I'm beginning to wonder whether the regime is trying to slow me down intentionally, but we're determined to keep going. So there are a lot of people. I think you've talked about getting out and voicing your concerns on Twitter. Twitter is a space that we feel very comfortable with. It's a space that we would encourage each and everyone to go to. There are handles that I would recommend those of you who are out there to go and follow. At Stand Up Uganda is one handle. That is the Uganda is Bleeding handle that has got quite a few tweets we would recommend. Also at Joseph Senyonjo. Joseph Senyonjo on Twitter is a really good handle, and there have been really, really good tweets that have come out from Joseph regarding the situation with Fred Lumbuye. And of course, there's the NUP Diaspora one out there. So I would suggest anyone who feels a bit helpless about the situation to go out to Twitter, because that's the space that we kind of rule and control. As Nico mentioned, I lead a team that holds a weekly protest. And the reason why we hold it weekly is because things change on an ongoing basis. And it's an online demonstration where we get together and share our concerns and thoughts. And we have one tomorrow. And so tomorrow we are having an online protest, and I would encourage all those of you who are here and feel like you want to say something or at least show your support, be it virtually, to our comrade Fred Lumbuye, to join us tomorrow on the Uganda is Bleeding platform from 4 to 6 p.m. Uganda time, which is 2 to 4 p.m. UK time. And we will share the details. And we have, we are expecting Honorable Zake, Francis Zake to speak, but as you well know, I believe he has traveled to Turkey. I'm to confirm whether that's the case, but certainly from the social media posts we saw with he had been scheduled to speak to us tomorrow. But because of the Fred Lumbuye thing, he has kind of gotten sidetracked, and he may not be available, but we're hoping that he will be able to access the session tomorrow. We've got Honorable, I think, hold on, let me just pick up the name. His deputy, because Honorable Francis Zake is the youth, NUP youth representative, or he kind of champions the youth cause. And we've got his deputy with us tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to be a good opportunity for anyone right across the world to get together and demand for the freedom of our comrade. Because like Francis and Nico said, if we who are out in the diaspora cannot raise our voices for our comrade, I mean, we might have different views on the content that he produces, but at the end of the day, these are forces for change. So people's style and preferences might be different, but one thing is for sure, he has been preaching one message, which is composed of 3 parts. 1, our victory was stolen. No one can contest that fact. 2, the rightful president hasn't been installed in Uganda. No one can contest that fact. And 3, Uganda is not free. This is just an example of demonstration that Uganda is not free if people who are in the diaspora are being picked up. So tomorrow, 2 to 4 p.m. UK time, or 4 to 6 p.m. Uganda time. Please join us. We will share the details on JB Mwonge's page so that you can all join us and have your say.
Yes, and so David, if I come to your program and I tell the audience that Museveni is dead, is that possible?
Well, apparently this is what is causing, this is what is making Museveni quite irate about the bloggers on social media, because people went on talking about him being dead, but that you can be dead metaphorically, not literally. And I think in regards to where Uganda is, I think we're ideologically dead. And if you're ideologically dead and you've got a leader who's pushing this 35 years of steady progress, although I'd question whether it's really progress, then he's in our eyes is dead. So you'd probably be making a fact, stating a fact.
So this reminds me that in January the UPDF issued a statement that 189 Al-Shabaab fighters were dead, and all of them were not dead. So I wonder if we can, the spokesperson for the UPDF, if we can send him to the prison 189 times for calling these people dead. And maybe additionally for spreading fake news.
Yeah, well, that's the government's propaganda machine. They try and push out all this information to make it look like the Ugandan army in Somalia is making grounds, and they always pump out these bits of information at strategic points. Don't forget that the regime we're dealing with has a very refined PR tool machine behind it. So the fake news that was released was an intentional diversion towards Museveni's interests in Somalia. But of course, if there are holes punctured through it, there's no way it can stand. And I don't think that headline lasted for more than a few hours before it was taken down. But this is the kind of regime we're dealing with, where they believe in order to get support, they have to spin. This spinning for gain, but spinning where you are actually telling blatant lies, and then you think you should be arresting people for telling lies. I think that's just hypocrisy. Nico, your point, and I don't know if, Francis, Turkey, obviously, there's a lot Turkey has to gain. Turkey is a very ambitious country from what you've seen in the geopolitics, certainly in the region that they're in and the space that they're occupying at the moment. And I can imagine one of the reasons why they're trying to do this is trying to gain some form of favor and gain a foothold in East Africa. I don't know what your thoughts are around their eyes on trade. I think we've seen them funding the dictator or supplying military gear. I think some of those trucks that were used during elections were supplied by Turkey. So there's a big thing here about, are they trying to use this to say, well, look, if you can open your country to us to exploit and plunder as the rest have done, we will scratch your back. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I think there's a big role in Turkey's interest in exploiting what is Ugandan. And if we let this go unheeded, there will be other people, strong men out there who will do the same. So I think there's a big point about let's make as much noise as we can now rather than wait before it's too late.
Yeah, David, you are right. There is no smoke without fire. I heard that the black mambas and ammunition which are used in terrorizing people during the voting were bought from Turkey.
Yeah. I mean, they're all over the place. They've got their footprint everywhere in Libya, of course, in the Middle East, and Uganda being Uganda with the greed that our people operate, they'll go to bed with anyone. So it doesn't surprise me that they will kind of bend over backwards in order to get something from the regime. It's unfortunate, but yes, people go out to Twitter and just use the hashtag #FreeFredLumbuye is one of the hashtags that's trending. You'll pick up tweets that you can retweet if you can't create new tweets. Or Free Fred Lumbuye Kajubi is another one that I've seen trending. Let's go out and make as much noise as we can, because he needs to know that we're with him, and we need him back. We need every single foot soldier that we have on the digital space able to keep raising the voice for those who can't speak back home in Uganda.
Yeah, in the meantime, I'm putting on the screen some Twitter accounts of some of the big Turkish websites. So I can encourage all our viewers, if you post a tweet with the hashtag #FreeLumbuye, then address these websites also. So the Turkish president, his Twitter handle is @RT_Erdogan. And I will now, and these are two big newspapers in Turkey. Francis, maybe you want to give some further comments while I look for some additional Turkish Twitter accounts to address.
Yeah, repetitively, as I would say, as regards to our brother Fred Lumbuye, this is the right time we really need him. And he also needs us, because we're in the struggle to get rid of the dictator. So once again, brothers and sisters, don't bow to intimidation. We have to work around the clock to make sure that we are all free, because if you let this opportunity go and we shouldn't fight for our brother to get out of the trap in which he is, all of us shall fall victims of circumstances. So it's upon us to fight for ourselves, to make sure that we prevent what the dictator is planning, because this might be he might be just like he's trying to see whether what his aims and goals is trying to put forward will work in future. So if they get rid of Lumbuye, tomorrow they might get rid of me, the other day they might get rid of David. So please, all listeners, let's fight as a team to make sure that we stop what Museveni is planning. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Francis. In the meantime, I put up the screen the official Twitter account for the AK party, which is Erdogan's party. And so I think we should continue to find those addresses, Twitter handles to address. Do we have any final comments, Francis or David?
Well, my call would be to everyone who is out there. It's these. I mean, those of you who follow the politics in the region will know that there are quite a few strongmen in the Great Lakes region, and the intimidatory tactics that Museveni is now deploying, the dictator is now deploying on Ugandans in the diaspora, are tactics that are not new. These are tactics that Kagame has been using in Rwanda to silence any form of opposition to his regime in Rwanda. The snooping, the use of digital hacking. They're one of the few countries in Africa who were using Pegasus, the software that was this is by the Israeli company that's used to access all sorts of information on people. So this is a big moment for us, and it's going to be a particular turning point for all the people who are involved in the struggle. How we come out of this depends on how we deal with it. If we decide to cower and allow ourselves to get intimidated, it will only give the dictator greater confidence to act with impunity, because until now he has generally felt the people in the diaspora make noise. They've supported and funded an opposition party that was only a few months going into the elections and for all intents and purposes won the elections, but he hasn't been able to lay his hands on them. If we keep quiet and let this situation with Lumbuye get to a stage where he's extradited, we hope he isn't extradited, we make as much noise as possible, then he gets even bolder. And that can't be a good thing for the struggle. It can't be a good thing for the liberation of Uganda. So my call is to each and every one of the 1,000 or so of you who are watching today, make it a commitment to yourself to ensure that you do everything you can to keep raising the voices of freedom, and certainly to call for the release of Comrade Fred Lumbuye. If there's one thing you can do, is go over to Twitter and just retweet anything you can do. I personally, I'm registered to run over the next few weekends at very large races. I will be going with my T-shirt and calling for the freedom of Lumbuye. It's my way of protesting. Now, people will have different ways of protesting. If that's not good enough and you're busy, join us tomorrow from 2 to 4 p.m. where, again, we said we've got an online demonstration, and one of the things we'll be doing is calling for the release of Fred Lumbuye, because he has done nothing wrong, and he deserves, if he had done anything wrong, he needs to be treated lawfully, and we should not get intimidated. That's the last thing we need to do. So whatever you're doing, do not get intimidated, because if we do, we're played into the trap that the dictator is setting us. And I hope to see as many of you tomorrow at our protest, where we will continue raising that call for freedom for our comrade Fred Lumbuye.
Now,
Maybe
David,
last,
not all of us are in the UK, so maybe you can also tell what time it is going to be for Francis and myself, or for our viewers in Uganda.
All right. Okay. So UK is 2 to 4. Uganda is 4 to 6 p.m. So just before your dinner or evening tea for those of you who have evening tea. And in Europe, it will be from 3 to 5. And
Evening
EST,
tea. Sorry, but that is only in the UK.
Sorry?
Evening tea. We don't do that in
evening
other
tea.
countries.
Incidentally, we used to have evening tea back home in Uganda. I don't know, Francis, if you enjoyed the
Really?
pleasures of having evening tea. Did you?
That is so long.
I do. Maybe,
There you
Professor,
go.
I wanted to say something. Professor, I wanted to say something lastly. I would love to remind those people who are in Uganda, but they have their heart also in Rwanda. Let them not forget that they are what you are. They are what they are because of Uganda. So let them refuse Museveni's money. A number of them go around Europe poisoning people. Please let them have sympathy, not to kill our brothers and sisters. Thank you very much.
Yeah, totally agreed, Francis, on that. Thank you very much. My co-host David, I thank you very much for your contribution. And Francis, you've been quite actively publishing articles on noob_diaspora.com website. So to all our viewers, if you want to read more that Francis has written, then go to noob-diaspora.com and you will find it there. We always end with a little movie, and let me say goodbye to our viewers. See you again in 2 weeks.
Come together as one, united forces of change. Opposition, come together as one, please. All of us must come together as one. All right, let me tell you. So now we say whether you are JMA, whether you are DP, whether you are NRM or you are FDC, whether you are CP, whether you PC, whether you are ANG, Banegwanga Balimala, Abanyasinga Tabantu.